I'm 89 years old, and I need to tell you about a lie I told myself for 40 years. A lie that cost me everything I actually wanted. The lie was simple. 2 words. Someday and when. Someday I'll write that book. When I have more time. Someday I'll call my brother. When things calm down. Someday I'll take that trip to Alaska. When I have more money. I'm 89 years old now, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, someday never came, and when never arrived. My name is Walter, and this is a story of 40 years I spent in a waiting room, waiting for my life to start. Let me tell you when I learned to say someday. 1965, I was 30 years old. I had a friend, Danny Martinez. We worked together at an accounting firm in Baltimore. Danny was the kind of guy who actually lived. You know what I mean? He didn't just exist, he lived. One Friday in March, Danny came to my desk with a brochure. Alaska, Denali National Park, Northern Lights, grizzly bears. He said, "Walter, I'm going. 3 weeks this summer. Come with me. Split the cost. Adventure of a lifetime." I looked at that brochure, and God, I wanted to go. I could see it. The mountains, the wilderness, the kind of trip you tell your grandkids about. But I had just bought a house, new mortgage, and my boss had hinted at a possible promotion. So I said those 2 words. Someday, Danny, when things settle down, when I have a house paid off a bit, when I'm more established at work. Danny looked at me. I remember his exact expression, disappointed but not surprised. He said, "Sure, Walt, someday." Danny went to Alaska that summer. He came back with stories and photos and this energy, this aliveness. I stayed in Baltimore, worked overtime, got the promotion. And I told myself I made the right choice, the responsible choice. I told myself there would be other chances, other Alaskas. Danny died in 1972. Car accident, 37 years old. I never went to Alaska. After Danny died, I told myself that proved my point. Life is short. You have to be responsible. You can't just run off on adventures. You have to build security first. Then someday when you're secure, you could do the fun stuff. So that's what I did. I built security. In 1968, I wanted to learn to play piano. Saw an ad for adult lessons. Something stirred in me. Music. But I was 33. Wasn't I too old to start? And the lessons were $40 a week. That's money I could put toward the mortgage. Someday, I thought, when the house is paid off, when I have more disposable income. In 1973, my wife Ellen suggested we take ballroom dancing classes. She'd seen them at the community center, twice a week. She was excited, but I was working on a big project at work. Audit season. "Someday, honey," I said, "when work calms down, when I'm not so busy." She never asked again. In 1978, I thought about going back to school. Had this idea about getting a degree in history, just for fun, just for learning. I was 43. Too old, right? And night school would mean less time for work, for getting ahead. Someday, I thought, when I retire, when I have all the time in the world. In 1982, my younger brother Marcus called, said he was planning a guy's trip, Las Vegas. Him and 3 of his buddies. He wanted me to come. Marcus and I weren't close. Hadn't been since we were kids. Different personalities. But this was an olive branch. a chance to actually know my brother as an adult. I said, "Sounds fun, Mark, but I've got that conference for work that same week. Maybe next year." He said, "Yeah, maybe next year." There was no next year. Not for that trip, anyway. We never took it. By the mid-1990s, something started happening. I was in my 60s, retirement approaching, and I started thinking about all those some days. Alaska, piano, dancing with Ellen, history degree, Vegas with Marcus. What was I waiting for exactly? The house had been paid off for 15 years. Work had never calmed down. It just stayed busy until I left. I wasn't more secure now than I was at 40, just older. But I told myself, well, now I'll have time. When I retire, that's when all those some days finally arrive. Retirement was going to be my someday. I retired in 1998. I was 63 years old. Finally it was someday. You know what happened? Nothing. I had all the time in the world, all the money I'd saved, no job to worry about, and I sat in my house and did nothing, because I'd spent 40 years practicing someday and I'd never practiced today. I didn't know how to start the book because I'd been planning to start it for 30 years. I didn't look into Alaska trips because, honestly, I was scared. Too old now. Too out of shape. I didn't learn piano because, well, what was the excuse now? There wasn't one. I just didn't. Someday had arrived, and I was still waiting. In 2003, my wife Ellen had a stroke. She recovered, mostly, but something changed. Her speech was affected. Her energy was lower. She tired easily. And I realized I'd spent 35 years married to this woman, and I'd been waiting to really connect with her later, when work calmed down, when the kids were grown, when we retired and had time. We had time. 5 years of retirement. And I'd spent it watching TV and playing golf and waiting to start living. Ellen died in 2009. We never took that dancing class. At her funeral, her sister Patricia said something that broke me. She said, "Ellen always said she wished Walter would just be present, just be here. Not next year, not someday, just here." I'd spent 40 years as her husband, and I'd never actually been there. I'd been in the next room, in my head, in someday. After Ellen died, I did something I should have done decades earlier. I made a list, all the somedays, all the things I was going to do when. Learn piano, never did. Write a book, never started. Go to Alaska, never went. Take Ellen dancing, never happened. Really get to know my brother Marcus. We exchanged Christmas cards. Learn Italian. Didn't even buy the Rosetta Stone. Build a workshop in the garage. Garage is empty. Volunteer at the library. Never called. Learn to cook well. Still eat frozen dinners. Take a cross-country road trip. Car barely leaves the driveway. Learn photography. Don't own a camera. Join a book club. Too scared to go alone. Reconnect with old friends. Haven't tried. Learn woodworking. Never touched a tool. I was 74 years old, and I had a list of 40 years worth of some days, and not a single one had happened. Not one. Because I kept waiting for when I have time, when I have money, when I'm ready, when things are perfect. And you know what I realized? When is a prison. Someday. is a lie you tell yourself so you don't have to be afraid today. In 2011, I was 76 years old. My doctor told me I had maybe 10 years left if I was lucky. Heart disease. Nothing dramatic. Just time running out. And something in me snapped. I thought about Danny Martinez. Dead at 37, but he went to Alaska. I thought about Ellen. Gone. Never danced with her. I thought about that list of somedays. And I decided, no more. No more someday. No more when. If not now, then never. So at 76 years old, I did something terrifying. I picked one thing from the list. Just one. Piano. I called the music store, asked about adult lessons. The woman on the phone said, "How old are you?" I said 76. She laughed. Not mean, just surprised. She said, "Well, you'll be 80 either way. Might as well be 80 and know how to play piano." That sentence changed my life. I'm 89 years old now. I've been playing piano for 13 years. I'm not good. I'll never be good, but I can play. I can sit down and make music. At 78, I finally went to Alaska, alone, scary as hell, but I saw Denali. I saw the Northern Lights. I saw grizzly bears. I cried the whole plane ride home because it was everything I'd imagined, and I'd waited 48 years. At 81, I started taking Italian classes at the community college. I'm terrible at it, but once a week, I sit in a room with other people and we butcher Italian together, and it's joyful. I never wrote the book. Too late for that, I think. I never danced with Ellen. I can't fix that. I never really knew my brother. He died in 2015. We never took that trip. But I stopped waiting. And the last 13 years have been more alive than the 40 years I spent in the waiting room. I'm 89 years old, and I'm watching you make the same mistake I made. You have a list. Maybe you don't write it down, but you have it. All the things you're going to do someday. Let me tell you what I know now that I didn't know at 30. Someday doesn't exist. It's not a place you arrive at. It's not a date on the calendar. It's a story you tell yourself. So you don't have to be brave today. When I have more money, when I have more time, when I'm more ready, when things are perfect, here's the truth. You will never have more money than you need for the things that actually matter. You will never have more time. You only have less. You will never feel ready. Ready is a myth. Things will never be perfect. Perfect is an excuse. Someday is how you lose your life. One postponement at a time. One, I'll do it next year at a time. One when things calm down at a time. And then you're 89, and someday never came. I sit in my house now, alone. Ellen is gone. Marcus is gone. Danny died 50 years ago, but I can play piano. And I've seen Alaska. And I know what Italian for "I wasted too much time" is. Ho sprecato troppo tempo. I tell you this not so you feel sorry for me. I tell you this so you don't end up where I am, 89 years old, with a list of some days that never happened. Right now, today you have something I don't have. Time, not unlimited, but more than me. So here's what I want you to do. Stop reading this. Close this video. And do one thing from your someday list. Not the biggest one. Not the scariest one. Just one thing. Call that person. Book that trip. Start that project. Have that conversation. Today, not someday, not when, today. Because someday is a liar, and when is a thief. And if you're waiting for perfect timing, you're going to wait your whole life. I'm 89 years old. I wasted 40 years in a waiting room. Don't waste yours. The door is open. Walk through it.